Well, living abundantly without a single penny to your name. Our next guest says it's entirely possible. 12 years ago, he left his entire life savings, all $30 of it, in a phone booth and walked away from money and all the strings attached. Today, he lives in caves on public land in Utah and calls his life without cash, credit, or welfare the good life. And with us now on the hotline is Daniel Suelo, along with Mark Sundin, the author who writes about Daniel's journey, excuse me, in The Man Who Quit Money. Dan, what do you believe that are the greatest merits of the decision that you've made?
I believe that it's all about grace, and it's all about finding the grace in other human beings and the grace in myself to accept freely. It's freely giving and freely receiving, which is really all about love.
And how does that principle that you represent, and I agree with it, but how does that contrast, do you think, with the contemporary culture in general?
Well, the basic philosophy of the money system is doing things to get something for reward, for a future reward, which I would call ulterior motivation. And it causes us to not be real, to be false. And the idea of living this way is to cultivate doing for the sake of doing rather than the sake of future reward, which is to be authentic, to be real.
Mark, what were you hoping by making the investment to document Daniel's decisions and publish the book? What are you hoping others will take away by benefiting from reading it?
Well, looking around at all sides of the political spectrum, you see people who are dissatisfied and afraid of the sort of Frankenstein's monster of the money system we've built. On the right, you've got the Tea Party saying that the Fed has taken us down the road to serfdom. On the left, you've got the Occupy movement saying that the financial industry owns the government and so they can't be held accountable. And in the middle, you've got climate change movement saying that we're basically about to destroy the place we live in order to have this idea that the government can't interfere with this, quote, free market. And so, people don't buy it anymore, and they feel powerless. It's like, how can I go against the Fed if I use money? And how can I go against Wall Street if I have an IRA? And how can I go against big oil when I drive a car? And what's been inspiring about Daniel is he has imagined another life. And I don't think many people are going to go live in a cave like he does, but he challenges us to think differently about the way the world is composed.
Yeah, where do you get food and shelter, Daniel?
I get food from society's cast-offs, from dumpsters, and also wild edibles out in the desert. And I've eaten roadkill, and also people's generosity. I hitchhike also, but I never ask for food. People give it to me, except for maybe bakeries or restaurants at closing time. I'll sometimes ask them. And I also live in a cave most of the time, but people also ask me to house sit, so I sometimes house sit. But that's also something that I never go out looking for. People ask me.
Right. And we have a culture where people are incident obsessed more than culturally obsessed, and which is why something like what you've done, Daniel, is so provocative, because it's a unexpected incident, if you will. It's a reason it's worth writing a book about. But it feels to me like your message is not that you want everybody to go live in a cave and live the way that you do. It sounds to me like your message is find the grace and love in yourself, because that is the only truth. Is that a fair interpretation?
Yeah, exactly. This really isn't about living without money. That kind of is a hook that gets people, but it's really about a spiritual journey and about finding grace and authenticity and encouraging everyone to find that in themselves, and for everyone to look at all of our possessions and think, am I taking more than I need, or am I taking only what I need? And that's what I would encourage all of society to do, to ask those questions.
Profound messages from both of you. Dan, compliments to you for your willingness to find in yourself your own truth and to be brave enough to not only do it but to share it with an author like Mark, and obviously to come out and talk to folks like ourselves. Mark, congrats to you for finding a story that can offer the sort of inspiration that the time calls for, which is again, whatever the decision is, that we are our own truth. And this is a great piece to express that. Congratulations, Mark.